So I'm going to give you 3 rolls on the dice tower, and I've got 8 questions here. We will see what you land on. Oh, one is called baking. Do you bake? And if so, what is your specialty?
Do you know what? I cook and I love cooking, but I do not bake. It's too technical for me. It's too scientific. I like the kind of spontaneity of adding in I don't really like following recipes. So I do love to cook, but no, I'm not a baker, unfortunately. I wish I was, but I'm not.
Roll number 2. 4 is advice. Let's say you started a clinic to give advice out, Oda style. What specific topic would you be advising your peers on?
As I get older, the less I know. Like, I feel like when you're young, you think you just have the answers to everything. And like, I would always believe that I needed to give advice to all of my friends. I had the answers. I had the key to unlock everything. And a lot of the time I was giving advice that I wasn't actually taking myself. And I think actually recently I've kind of like really wanted to say to my friends, you have the answers. Like, you have them. I believe that you have them. I read Untamed by Glennon Doyle, and it changed my life. It's like I just love it. And it's become like my Bible. And she says a lot of the time, advice is actually, you're actually are you talking to that person? Or are you talking to a past version of yourself and giving that? So sometimes it's hard to know if the advice is helpful. And sometimes the advice can take someone away from themselves rather than helping. So I'm trying to be a bit more now, like trying to guide my friends, but not actually, and ask them helpful questions, but not actually really tell them what to do, which I think Otis is really good at that. Like, he'll give a kind of word of wisdom, but he will most of the time be asking the questions. And I think asking people and is more helpful, letting them figure out their own answers.
All right, you got one more roll here. 7, 4-legged friends. Do you have any pets?
I don't have any pets. I really want a dog, but I also know that is a huge responsibility. Like, I'm seeing my friends who have got dogs and they're like, it's just like having a baby. So I'm not sure. But what is amazing about playing Aimee is that she always seems to have an animal featured in there's the lizard, there's the goat, there's so I kind of get to spend time with some quite unusual animals on set of Sex Education.
We're going to try to burn through some cast superlatives really quick.
Okey-dokes.
All right. So let's start with most changed. Who is the most changed cast member of Sex Education from season 1 to now?
Can I say all of us? I think all of us are we've grown up so much. And it has been amazing to see that happen. Like, it wasn't that long ago that season 1 was, it was, but we've all just really, it's very easy to notice with the younger ones. So like with Chenille, he was a baby when we started Sex Education, and now he's like he's a grown man, and it's so weird. Like, every time I see him, I'm like, wait, who are you? Hello, when did you grow up? So I think it's very obvious with the really young ones, because there are kind of like the older end and then there are the younger end. And I think the younger ones, it's all like, it's quite moving. I'm like, wow.
All right, I'll give you one more here. Who is the most likely to get left behind on a field trip?
Jojo, who plays Kyle. I would say that he's not like his character. He's a lot more sensible and he's a lot more kind of with it. But I can just imagine Jojo being left. Or also, to be honest, me or Shooty, or both of us, because we'd start talking and then we'd just be off for hours, and then all of a sudden we wouldn't know. Or I'd be faffing about doing something. I could very easily get left behind, to be honest. I'm such a faffer.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back for a brand new episode of Collider Ladies Night. I get to cover one of my absolute favorite shows right now because I have Aimee Lou Wood from Sex Education with us this time around. Hello and congratulations ×3 now.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So another thing I love talking about is going to school, because it seems like we're often having the conversation. Do you think it's worth studying your craft in school, or just getting out there and having experience? You have a BA in acting. So what is something that you learned in school that you find yourself referring back to often today? But then on the other hand, what is something that all the schooling in the world could not have prepared you for when you hit your first set?
Wow. Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about this recently, because I kind of thought I didn't know much about drama school. I didn't know much about any of it. And I remember thinking it was kind of the only route, that you kind of like, you had to go to drama school and you had to. And now I'm realizing it's not actually right for everyone. It is for some people, but it's not. I mean, it's quite split on sex ed set. Like, some of us did go to drama school, some of us didn't. So there are other ways. I'm really glad that I went, to be honest. I think less even about my acting, but more just as a person. I'm glad that I was in a space for 3 years that was safe for me to kind of mess up and make mistakes and learn, rather than going straight out there. And also, I think the main thing that I would say from drama school, the problem that I have with it is it can make certain people feel like, as well as lots of schooling systems, it can make certain people feel wrong and certain people feel right. And actually, the best thing about acting is you're always going to be right if you're being truthful to the character and to yourself. And if I just think the best actors always reveal a part of themselves through the characters that they're playing, and it costs them something to play those parts. And it should be kind of a vulnerable feeling, and it should, yeah. And that's how you move people, is when it's kind of like, you're revealing a part of you to the audience through that character and through that story. And I think you only learn that once you're out of school, because at school it gets too much in your head. That was a good performance, or that was a bad performance. And you kind of like lose your own center, kind of like the advice thing we were talking about.
Let's get into season 1 now. So looking back on season 1 and your experience shooting all your scenes in that, is there any particular beat for Aimee that, I guess, pointed you forward in the right direction, or really contributed to helping put the character into focus for you?
These are such good questions. I love these questions. Yeah, I love them. I think that, so Aimee was actually not really that, she wasn't as full as the other characters at the beginning, because she was actually quite a late addition. She wasn't in the like original scripts and stuff. She was kind of added in, I think, the latest. And so the writers were still trying to figure her out. The director was still trying to figure her out. I was trying to figure her out. But that gave me a lot of freedom, because it meant that I could go with my instincts on things and like kind of make the character who I saw her as, because she wasn't fully formed yet. And so, yeah, I think that my auntie was eaten by wasps was the line where I heard that line and I was like, I know who Aimee is. And it was when Maeve says, what, was she stung to death? And she goes, no, she was eaten. And she says it with such conviction. It was the choice. I thought I have to believe. The key to Aimee was believe everything you say, no matter how ridiculous it is. She believes everything she's saying. And once I'd clicked onto that, it was like, I know who Aimee is.
Let's have the worst transition in the world and talk about the intimacy coordinator, because in my interviews, I often like to ask, what is something about what it takes to make a film or a show that you were afraid to ask when you were first starting out? And so many people told me that, like, I wish someone told me what the reality of filming a sex scene was like. And I feel like we don't hear enough about how productions have intimacy coordinators involved. So what is something that you've picked up from Ida and David over the seasons that, you wish someone out there who didn't have that kind of role on their set? What is something that they've told you that you wish that they could know?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the one that really just stuck with me so much was when I remember going to do the first sex scene, and there was something that I was a bit like, oh, maybe I'm okay with that. And I remember being like to Ita, I'll no, that's fine. I can. And she was like, Aimee, let me just tell you something. No is no and maybe is no. So if you're going, maybe I'm comfortable, it's a no, because what's going to happen is you're going to compromise and you're going to agree to something, and then you're going to feel so terrible after. You're going to have the worst vulnerability hangover because you've said yes, you've gone along with something that you weren't 100% comfortable with. And it wasn't anything, it was, no one was putting pressure on me. It was just me trying to please and be like, well, maybe I can do that, maybe I can do that. And he was like, just remember, in all sex scenes and all intimate stuff, no is no and maybe is no. Only a yes, only an absolute yes is a yes. And I think that that they were so amazing on the sex ed set with that stuff, because no one, like Ben, our director, the last thing he wanted is for us to feel uncomfortable, because also you can see it. Like when I watch sex scenes now that clearly didn't have like an intimacy coordinator or a supportive director or something, you can see that the people are uncomfortable. Like you can actually read it in like their bodies and their faces and everything. And actually, so I think that really just holding on to that and being on a set and thinking, no, I'm deliberating about this and I'm umming and ahhing. So maybe that is an indication that actually it's a no. And we'll figure out a different way to do it. You can always figure out a different way to do it. In pressure and all that stuff is never okay. It's never acceptable, you know? So yeah, that would be the main thing.
I love talking about the value of having a good scene partner and what that could bring out of you that maybe you would not have been able to bring out of yourself. So what is it about working on those moments with Emma that makes you, tap into something that you might not have been able to without her?
I mean, it's everything. When the actor who played the policeman in season 2, he said to us, you guys have got something so rare. He was like, you can spend an entire career and not find a scene partner that you find that it's this easy with. The ease and the chemistry and the connection that you two have, like, do not underestimate it. It's so obvious to everyone and it's so amazing, and it doesn't come about often. And he's right. Like it is, I don't think I realized how like lucky like we all are as a cast, that we all just like gel so well. But being with Emma, like, oh my God, it's so important, because I look at her when in that bloody argument scene, I look at her face and she's upset with me. I don't need to act, because I'm literally just like, this is horrid. And it's, if you've got that connection with someone, so much of the work is done for you already. You're having a laugh and you are truly just having a laugh. You don't have to force anything. So it makes just the whole acting malarkey a lot easier. It's such an important thing. And she's so just there, and she's so generous as an actor, which is quite hard to find. Like, there are amazing actors that aren't fully with you when you're in a scene with them. They're amazing, but that, she is there.
All right. That brings me to the biggest spoiler question I have of the bunch. It might be a touch of theory at this point, but where do you think Aimee's head is at the very end of season 3? Because she sends Maeve on her way to America with such confidence in what she's telling her to do. But do you think that Aimee has confidence at this point in herself to be okay back home without Maeve?
I think that Aimee is on this kind of this confidence spree where she's like, I'm going to break up with Steve, and then I'm going to tell Maeve to go because she needs to do this and it's right. And all of those things are true. She's doing what is right and what's true. But I do think that when she gets home and she goes into her bedroom and she realizes her best friend, who means so much to her, has gone to America, and she is no longer with her boyfriend, who she does love, even though it wasn't working out, she loves him as a friend and she loves him as a person. I think that's going to be quite scary. And I wonder how much of this kind of her growing out of this codependency, I wonder how much of that will be able to stick when she's there by herself and she's going, where the hell are Maeve and Steve? Like, the only two people that I've really got. So I do wonder where it's such because I think she does just get this kind of, I'm just going to act on the truth now. And it's amazing. But sometimes we do that, and then it's so easy to do that. And then all of a sudden be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? But I hope she just knows that she's going to be okay. I mean, she's made a friend in Maureen, and she's got Jean. So I'm kind of like, if season 4 happens, maybe Ames is hanging out with, the mums. So yeah. But
I will totally be down for a season 4 that has that as a thread.
I would absolutely love it. Scenes with those two, that was just so fun.
I have so many more questions. I only got through such a small fraction here. You are such a pleasure to talk with, and huge congratulations on this show and everything you've accomplished, because I've seen some of your other work, and I hope everybody, we didn't have time to talk about it all, but I hope everybody out there goes on IMDb and looks at some of Aimee's stage work, because you are exceptional, and I've got high hopes we're going to talk again in the future.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I really want to talk again.